Oh, hello there. Yes, well, it turned out all, broken ceasefire again, didn't it? Yes. Anyway, today there will be various things happening in the House of Commons, and if you had a thing happening in the House of Commons and you're an insurgent, a insurgent MP on the side of the working classes, well, you're going to want maximum publicity, aren't you? And it kind of helps to have a supine media, and I think we saw a really good example of that yesterday with Richard Tice, because my male cow excrement measurer was really going haywire with this particular story. Britain's most evil or courageous or something political prisoner, Lucy Connolly. This, initially in the Daily Telegraph, was this. Lucy Connolly manhandled, in inverted commas you notice, in prison, says Tice. Deputy Reform UK leader visits mother jailed in Southport, tweet at HMP Peterborough, yes. And, well, it was definitely a tale of woe that our Richard has to say. Let's have a read about this. Connolly's alleged mistreatment happened after she was told she would not be moving to an enhanced wing with full privileges, but would instead be placed on a 23-hour-a-day lockdown in an area holding the most violent prisoners. When she challenged the decision to move her, she was allegedly restrained by officers with handcuffs to take her to the new cell. Now, speaking as somebody who has been trained over the years a lot in restraint, you would only use handcuffs on somebody if they were physically violent. Okay, I know that there are arguments about, she's a political prisoner and they're doing it very deliberately because it sends out a very stern message. But, if she is quite soon, and she is indeed due to be released quite soon, this August, why on earth would she do that? And why on earth would the officers do that? What would be the value of behaving towards her for no apparent reason or mistreating her? It doesn't quite add up. To me, anyway. I'm sure it does to Richard, because he was there and I wasn't. Might come back to that particular point. Mr. Tice, who visited Connolly on Tuesday morning, said 5 days after the incident, the bruises on her wrist were still significant, yellow. It was obviously horrible what she went through. Well, I don't know. You see, unfortunately, certain people do bruise easily. I know that I'm making light of this, but trust me, it's really true. I don't know. If you do handcuff somebody and they are struggling, they will get bruised. So again, I'm sorry, but I'm having slight doubts about this. On Thursday, she was manhandled, mistreated with no provocation. She was denied enhanced accommodation to which she was entitled, and they gave her, frankly, the nutter's wild wing, druggies violence. You have to think it's politically motivated. I think the next few weeks before her release she's going to be very challenging, worrying. I don't think it would suit the authorities to want to provoke violent reaction from Lucy. I told Lucy to be very careful. It's just, I don't know, as I say, it just doesn't quite add up to me. Why on earth would you deliberately try to provoke her to hold on to her for longer, bearing in mind that the whole thing about her case has now become this kind of totemic thing with everybody on the right? I just can't see it. It doesn't make any sense in the way that Richard, and as relayed to him by Lucy, is saying this. Now, it gets slightly odder, right, okay, because later on in the afternoon we had this from Allison Pearson, who is no stranger to being violently mishandled by the police, or not, as the case may be, just them coming round and having a quiet word. Ostensibly has become a kind of again, another kind of totemic thing about the fact that we are living in Stasi land. The mistreatment of Lucy Connolly in prison is deeply sinister. She says she's been manhandled, bruised and starved, yet was jailed for a single tweet. We are truly living in Starmer's Stasi Britain. Yes, loads of political capital there. But it's worthwhile sort of going into this and see what kind of vibe you get from this. And bearing in mind that Richard Tice and and Allison Pearson are having this stuff relayed to them very third hand. But let's just dive into this. Lucy was led to believe the room would be free on Tuesday, and she was glad to spot her name on the board next to the H1E1. That was rubbed out last Wednesday, but Lucy didn't have any cause for concern until, that is, an officer told her they were putting her on A1, a wing that is known, not affectionately, as the Bronx because it's full of druggies, spice heads, and the scene of frequent fights. Okay, but why? Lucy asked. I'm not going there. Sorry, I won't go. Her suspicion deepened when she was told the previous tenant of the cell they had earmarked for her was a woman who died just a couple of days before. Shortly after, according to Lucy, she was on her way back from the gym when a group of officers, 5 or 6 of them, sprang out of nowhere and accosted her. You're no better than anyone else here. You're going to A1, Lucy one said. Lucy was petrified. She started crying, leant back against a wall and slid to the ground. Officers used restraining methods on her that are supposed to be reserved for violent or abusive prisoners, not polite, cooperative childminders. They bent her over forwards with their arms sharply behind her backs. Her hands were tightly handcuffed. I was in excruciating pain, Lucy told Ray on the phone later. I thought, what the hell are they going to do with me? Yes, and it gets worse. She was manhandled up 3 flights of stairs with officers wearing body cameras shouting at her all the way. She was dumped in a filthy cell with what looked like excrement on the walls. An officer insisted it was coffee. While Lucy lay on the floor sobbing, some of the wing's veterans began to rally to her aid, approaching her door and calling out, Lucy, we know where you are. Don't worry, you'll be fine here. Lucy, don't let the bastards get to you. One Bronx toughie arrived with a radio for Lucy and yelled at an officer to open the door to give it to her. He did so without demur. A shattered Connolly was told that she was on 23-hour lockdown. That means being confined to her boiling hot, stultifying, curtainless cell for 23 hours a day. You've got 15 minutes exercise, an officer said. I've got an hour, Lucy replied, asking to see a copy of the prison rules. Why the F have they put you in this wing, Lucy? Her neighbour in the next cell demanded. We're the ones they can't do nothing with. Right, okay. Yeah, it's real, prison cell block H stuff, isn't it? Anyway, the 42-year-old was given 14 days on basics. No food, no TV, no privileges. She can't even go to the canteen to have her meals. Food is brought to her cell. You've got 14 days on basics, Lucy. That's insane, one of the Bronx girls marvelled. Funny how the asylum inmates are saner than the warders, isn't it? Later that traumatic day, when Ray spoke to Lucy, she was sobbing uncontrollably. He did her best to calm her down. Ray, whose immune system is compromised by bone marrow failure, told me he hasn't been able to cry since the Connollys lost their toddler son Harry in 2011 as a result of gross medical negligence. As he tried to soothe his frightened wife, Ray put a hand up to his eye and was surprised to feel tears. Oh dear God. Now, I don't know about you, but I find that wildly improbable. The way that it's written, I don't know. I'm sorry. Call me cynical if you like, but I don't believe it. I don't believe that these things happened this way. Okay? Why? Why now? Why all of this stuff? Well, it does tell you, of course. Tomorrow, an indefatigable Richard Tice will present Lucy's bill to Parliament, a backstop against harsh sentences that would allow members of the public to mount appeals against punishment they feel is too severe. It would permit a second opinion in cases where judges got it wrong and prevent people like Lucy being sent to jail. The House of Cowards and Clowns will reject it, of course they will, but they're on borrowed time. The British people have had enough, and Lucy Connolly knows it. My case is about so much more than me, she says. Yes, it is. Keep calm, Lucy. Don't let them provoke you. Keep reading your book in the Bronx, and don't give them the satisfaction of seeing you wound up. You're so nearly home. Nearly home. Finally, a message from the Governor, Mark Bennett, and his staff of the Peterborough prison. You really wouldn't want any further harm to come from Lucy Connolly between now and her release. Trust me, we see you. Yes. Well, that's it, isn't it? Political theatre. But it is just political theatre. I'm sorry, I don't believe very much of this at all. Again, I know about things like restraining, and you just don't do that. It's really dangerous to restrain people, especially forcibly, and you certainly don't restrain people and drag them upstairs. That's a real no-no. And a variety of other things I could say about that. So I don't know. We have been here before when she was denied an early release, and there were reasons given for that, and I think there were reasons why this has also happened, but we're not being told it, because of course Lucy Connolly has never done anything wrong whatsoever. Yeah, okay. She sits just one space aside from Jesus Christ in terms of the pantheon of good people in the world. However, I just find all of this stuff very, very odd and actually quite disturbing that Allison Pearson can write this stuff. This isn't journalism, it's soap opera. It's Prisoner Cell Block H, complete with very bad acting. And none of this stuff is anything other than it's been relayed to people who have then decided to put a spin on it. And again, if you think that Lucy Connolly has done nothing wrong, okay, fine, you're entitled to that. But at the same time, then why hasn't she been let out? What possible motive would there be in hanging on to her? And if these prison officers have indeed worn body cam, then the entire thing will be shown on their body cams, won't it? But I do have a sneaking suspicion that we won't see any of this whatsoever, and that after tomorrow it will simply become something that goes into that long sort of pantheon history of things that certainly happened but we can't actually prove any of it. I think it will be intriguing when she does come out to see this woman, because after all she's simply a blank slate, isn't she? Nobody knows anything about her whatsoever. For somebody who's all desperately lovely and a husband and bone marrow and child dying and groves, whatever, I haven't heard anything from anyone that allegedly knows her. There's people like Richard Tice, politicos that visit her. There's her husband, and that's it. I haven't seen anything from anyone who might even be called a sort of character witness for her. So I don't know. We will see. But I just find this kind of stuff really, really distasteful, that I'm being led by the nose to believe things that, I'm sorry, I don't. I don't believe Richard Tice any further than I believe Allison Pearson. They are both political actors, and this is a fine example of political drama. Oh, boo, hiss, boo, hoo, all the bad things that happened to the lovely lady. Tell us again what the bad people did to you. It's not journalism, and I just don't think it's factual either. Okay, shoot me down in flames, please do. Anyway, I'm sure, given the current climate, that the Free Speech Union will be undoubtedly posting a great deal of things about Lucy Connolly. After all, it's very important that they do. Very odd they haven't posted anything whatsoever about prescribing Palestine action, or indeed just supporting Palestine action as being terrorism. Still, I'm sure that they won't. Do have a lovely day. Don't forget, it's important to vote to make sure that Lucy's law is passed. After all, she is up there with the gods, isn't she? Do enjoy.